I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays, Director of Democracy Policy at Indivisible and the host of Impeachment Daily, the only daily impeachment recap program with the spirit of a hustler and the swagger of a college kid. Impeachment Daily exists to demystify the impeachment process and let you know how you can stay involved in this fight. Today, of course, we're going to recap the testimony of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and Jennifer Williams, who both testified this morning, and tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Kurt Volker's testimony, who testified this afternoon. It was a wild day on the Hill, and I'm not sure the Republicans were even on the same planet as everyone else in the hearing room, so let's get right into it with our only segment, which is called What is Happening?, where we discuss what is happening. Today, of course, a big day in the House Intelligence Committee. This morning, two people testified. The first was Jennifer Williams, who is a national security staffer for Mike Pence. She was actually on that call between Trump and the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. And as we expected, Williams testified that she thought the call was unusual and inappropriate, which, yes, girl, I agree. But Williams also talked about a follow-up call. She was asked, actually, about a follow-up call that her boss, Mike Pence, had with Zelensky on September 18th. Williams said she couldn't answer that question, though, because Mike Pence has now designated that call as classified. That means she can't talk about it in a public setting. But here is the weird thing, though. Last month, the Washington Post actually reported on that call between Pence and Zelensky. And at the time, U.S. officials had deemed that conversation as somewhat perfunctory. But now it's classified, which is weird, because what we're trying to get at here is, what did Mike Pence know about all of this? Williams did say that doing follow-up calls like that was not usual for Mike Pence. Weird, right? Williams has said that she would be willing to address the call in further detail in a classified setting, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that particular mystery about Mike Pence. Also testifying this morning was Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who, as we've discussed, is a leading expert on Ukraine for the National Security Council. He was also on that call between Trump and Zelensky, and Chairman Adam Schiff asked him about it. And he asked, "What was your reaction to hearing that call?" Vindman said, "I knew that I had to report this." Schiff asked him, "What was your concern?" And Vindman said, "It was improper for the president to demand an investigation into a political opponent. It would undermine our national security." Yet another sentence I agree with. Thank you, Colonel Vindman. He went on to testify, here's how these things usually go. What usually happens is, in high-level discussions between world leaders, is that the president is prepped with talking points and other material from the State Department and national security folks and all of that. Vindman put together talking points for Trump to use, which was probably a waste of time since Trump doesn't like to read. But this will not surprise any of you at all to learn Trump went fully rogue and brought up a bunch of conspiracy theories and the need for investigations on the phone call instead. None of that was in Vindman's talking points, as you can imagine. So when Vindman saw the summary of the call between Trump and Zelensky, he was concerned because he knew that some things were missing. For example, he had heard Zelensky talk about Burisma, which is that Ukrainian company that Hunter Biden was a board member of, but any mention of Burisma was left out of the summary, and so it was called the company. And any mention of the Bidens at all were also left out, even though they were mentioned by name on the call. At first, Vindman thought it was an oversight, but those references were not put back into the summary after Vindman raised the omission with folks in the White House. But it was clear to Vindman that when Trump said, "I'd like you to do us a favor, though," to Zelensky, that it was an order. There was a power imbalance between Trump and Zelensky. Zelensky had just been elected to the presidency, and it was clear that Trump was demanding investigations from him, and that those investigations were a necessary precondition to getting that $400 million in aid. So how did the GOP handle this mountain of very credible evidence? They did what we expected. They tried to undermine Vindman, they tried to discredit him, and they started to allude to this fever swamp conspiracy that Vinnik has split loyalties because he and his family fled Ukraine when he was 3 years old. They came here as refugees, actually. But Republicans are trying to make it seem like he has some sort of ulterior motive because of where he was born, something they like to do, cast aspersions on people based on their nationality. So Republicans asked Vinnik about an offer he got from the Ukrainian government. They offered Vinnik a job as the country's defense minister. And this was news, by the way. This hadn't been previously reported. On the one hand, Vinnik said the offer was a great honor, and in fact, Ukraine has brought in Ukrainian Americans who fled that country as refugees to come back and work for the government, and some Ukrainian Americans have taken them up on the offer. But Vinnik turned them down and went ahead and informed counterintelligence officers about that offer. Still, the fact that Republicans are bringing this up seems really obvious why they're doing it, and it's pretty gross. They're trying to create sound bites for the Fox News wing of the party to continue to advance conspiracy theories about Vinnik and his allegiances, because that is more normal than just admitting what we all know. Trump is wildly corrupt and guilty. So instead, they're doing this other thing where they're just smearing regular people as spies or something. I also don't know why they keep bringing up Hunter Biden, because it's like, if you really want to have a conversation about presidential candidates' corrupt progeny, we could do that, Donald. Be careful what you wish for, I guess. So that was this morning's testimony. We'll have a full rundown for you tomorrow on Kurt Volker, who's testifying this afternoon. And of course, tomorrow is our big Gordon Sondland Day. Should be fun if you're a nerd like me. So stay tuned for tomorrow. In the meantime, you can text IMPEACH to 97779. We will connect you directly with your member of Congress, especially if that person is a Republican, because wowzer, these guys are on another planet entirely. You can also go, we're planning our big mass mobilization event still, 400 events in 40-something states, plus DC. Keep up the great work. You can pre-register for an Impeachment Eve event at impeach.org the night before the final vote in the House. We're all going to take to the streets, chanting, cheering, trying to get Trump impeached. It's going to be fantastic. You can pre-register for an event, impeach.org. As soon as we know the date of the vote, we will let you know, and off we go. Thank you for tuning in to Impeachment Daily, and I will see you tomorrow.